Welcome to the East Lansing City Council regular business meeting of January 20th, 2026. The meeting will come to order with could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Whalen?
Here.
Councilmember Meadows?
Here.
Councilmember Singh? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Grigsby?
Here.
Mayor Altman?
Here. Is there a motion concerning the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Moved by Singh,
Second.
by Grigsby. Any discussion of the agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Is there a motion concerning the minutes of previous meetings?
I'll move approval of the minutes from the City Council discussion-only meeting of January 13th, the regular council meeting of January 6th, and the City Council special discussion-only meeting of January 9th.
Second.
Moved by Meadows, second by Singh. Any corrections to those minutes? So the motion is to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Those minutes are approved. Communications, all written communications, all emails we get are linked to the City Council website or the agenda on the City Council website. Communications from the audience. Josh Vermass.
Okay. Howdy. My name's Josh Moss. I'm here mostly on behalf of my 5-year-old who really loves the Albert Alfresco, and I wasn't sure when the right time to come was, and it's not on the agenda today. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm in this section. So this past summer, she really enjoyed being able to go out with her daycare class. So she's currently in kindergarten. Last summer, she was still in daycare. I don't know how much money she spent at local businesses, but they went to go eat at the pancake restaurant quite often. And again, part of that is just because if you're nearby, it is a safe place to walk with small children because there aren't cars there. And so in hearing what's been being discussed around what we're going to do with that later, and possibly getting rid of it, that was kind of okay, that's not necessarily something that I would see myself being useful for my family, right? When we go to Albert and just the general downtown areas, we normally walk. And in the summer, there are fewer cars out because there are fewer students around, and also the street's closed, so there are fewer cars there that don't necessarily need to be there. And it's just a great opportunity to walk around walk around and visit the businesses and do things that we would otherwise not do. I can't really put an economic number on it, but I'm a scientist and I'd love to run the experiment of what if you have 1 month where it is present and 1 month where it is absent, and then see which one of those ends up being more favorable for local businesses, if that's the main goal. As a resident, I just really like being able to walk there. I don't really have any agenda beyond that, but I wanted to make that point clear and have fun with the rest of the meeting.
Thank you. Annette Kopachik.
Thank you. I wanted to speak just for a moment in support of consent agenda item 3.3 regarding the parking on Glenhaven Avenue. First, thank you to the Transportation Commission for their analysis and their approval, and then their very quick referral to the council. We appreciated it very much. I just wanted to quickly reiterate how difficult it's been, especially this year, and especially since the first of the school year, with people parking on both sides of the street. It's a narrow street. It's only 24 feet. And if you get cars parked on both sides of the road, well, I've seen a Chevy Tahoe have to back up because they couldn't get through. We've missed garbage and recycling pickup because the trucks couldn't get through. And imagine if there was a fire or an ambulance that couldn't get through as well. So I would urge you, and I would thank you very much, considering the passage of this traffic control order. Thank you.
Thank you. Molly Spooner.
Thank you. Thank you for your focus on the city neighborhood traffic issues. Like Glen Haven, I definitely have noticed that as well. It's kind of comical that cars park right behind a driveway and you cannot pull out of your driveway. But tonight you're going to be reviewing the issue we are having also in Glen Karen with speeding on South Lawn. I think we've been talking about it for a few years now, but cars really do fly from Harrison to Abbott using South Lawn. So the intersection of South Lawn and Rosewood is a route to school. That's where we're talking about possibly stop signs or something. It was identified as a route to school in the Safe Route to School study in 2022 by MDOT, actually. And that study recommended converting the existing yield signs there to stop signs. So that wasn't done. I don't know why, but it wasn't done. At the same time, some neighbors and I had asked the city to look at how much asphalt is there and maybe convert that into a median, something maybe a rain garden, a tree, because it's a significant amount of asphalt. And so that could be a way to slow cars while also having environmental benefits. And then thank you for considering the neighborhood traffic calming at this location and others. I know that it was really nice. We met with Mr. LaCase and Mr. Clayton as part of the Glen Karen Neighborhood Association and just talked about there are 3 lawn streets in Glen Karen, Center Lawn, South Lawn, what's the other one? North Lawn. And all of those have the same issue with cars really zooming very fast down and kids going to school that way. So stop signs, I understand, are not everyone's jam, and I don't know that they always work. But I think cars are going faster than they ever used to through neighborhoods. They're a lot bigger than they used to be. And it would be great if we could kind of do some sort of a plan like they did in Bailey years ago, where just some kind of creative landscaping was put in, some bump outs, make cars not have runways, and instead make cars kind of have to meander. So that's just the thinking there. I don't know that everyone in the neighborhood wants stop signs there. That's what Safe Routes to School recommended, but I think the answer shouldn't be doing nothing. So thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca Kaysen.
Good evening. I want to begin by thanking Mr. Altman. At multiple city council meetings, Nadia Sellers asked Mr. Altman a very simple question, whether he is a racist. He refused to answer. Yesterday at the MLK luncheon, he finally did. His speech, which failed to mention so many things, especially, I don't know, DEI or racial justice, sounded like it was written by KKKAI. So thank you, Mr. Altman, for finally answering the question. Since Mr. Altman has shown repeatedly that he is not listening, my comments today are directed to the other 4 members of this council. I want to talk about how we got here and why the damage done by the city's leadership, particularly by Jen Brown and Robert Bellman, cannot be undone, at least not while they are still in power. I'm an older millennial raised by my boomer parents who taught me to love my country, respect my government, and trust the police. Over the years, particularly the past 5 years, at the federal level, that trust was shattered. I took comfort in believing that I lived in a progressive city. While I disagree with many ELPD policy and practices, I still believe that the officers in this city worked with integrity. Then came the September press release. I believed it. I remember reading and thinking, oh no, why did it have to be Lansing kids? We're finally changing the narrative. I believed the story that 2 drunk men from Lansing were fighting outside of Dave's Hot Chicken and refused to comply when ordered to break it up. I believed the cops. Then I saw the Dave's Hot Chicken video. I saw Officer Lyons attack 2 men who were doing nothing wrong. I saw pepper spray deployed not to protect anyone, not to de-escalate, but simply because 2 black men existed in East Lansing and did not submit fast enough. I learned the city went so far to lie about where these men lived in order to reinforce a familiar and dangerous narrative, that big black men come from Lansing to East Lansing to cause trouble. That's not a mistake. That's not a miscommunication. That is intentional. The damage is done. City Manager Robert Bellman had an opportunity to intervene, to course correct, to restore even a fraction of the public trust. Instead, he chose to stand behind a corrupt police chief. Chief Jen Brown had the opportunity to say, I issued a press release based on bad information. Here's how I am correcting it. Here's how the officers involved will be disciplined. Instead, she proved that she is not merely negligent, but corrupt. And Detective Lyons, the cowboy with pepper spray, has no business being a police officer. But based on what we've seen, he fits right in with the culture of the East Lansing Police Department. You do not get to ask this community for trust anymore. You have burned it. And until there is accountability, transparency, and real consequences, no amount of speeches, task forces, or badly written MLK Day speeches will repair the harm that you guys have caused. Thank you.
Thank you. Harold Pope.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That was awesome and so true. I'm here tonight just to be a constant reminder that there are open-ended items for the city council to take care of. There are 2 young black men who have been attacked, whose lives were attempted to be ruined. The city has lied, made up stories, withheld evidence, and yet the city council, you sit here and I don't see that anything is being done. Talked to the mayor earlier, and I talked to Chief Brown several times, and it's now I can't say anything because there's a lawsuit pending. There was so much you could have said before the lawsuit was initiated. So this whole thing about not investigating Officer Lyon and Officer Kingsbury is a farce. Those actions should have been investigated within the first week. It could have been internal, but it should have happened. Policy was broken and continues to be broken. And I ask you, City Council, what are you going to do about it? Other than say, I can't speak to it because there's pending litigation. And that's not true. There are many things you can speak to. There are many things that need to be done. And you need to get them done before somebody else gets hurt, gets seriously hurt. And I'm not saying what happened to those 2 young men wasn't serious, but there are things that could be more serious. And I would expect the city council to be all over that. Protecting individual lives, protecting these young kids, not harassing minorities, because that's exactly what Chief Brown's statement does. It harasses minorities. It puts a target on the backs of minorities. It emboldens the police officers to address minorities more aggressively, without regard, without care, and without treating everyone else as citizens. Nobody's asking for special attention, so why give it to them? Everybody's asking for respect. And so the same here, asking for the respect of City Council to show up, to show some leadership, and show that you're making a difference. And you're not holding the line, hiding behind, there's pending litigation, I can't speak to it. Then don't speak to it, but still do something about it. My name is Harold Pope. I'm the president of the NAACP Lansing branch. Thank you.
Thank you. James McCurtis Jr.
Good evening, everyone. I am the first vice president of the Lansing branch NAACP. The face and the voice of East Lansing is not the city council. The face and the voice of East Lansing is not the city manager, and is definitely not the mayor. The face and the voice of East Lansing is your police chief, Jen Brown. She's your welcoming committee. She has set the tone for how the city should react to black people when they come here. Yesterday at the MLK luncheon, I heard the mayor talk about how the city and the people need to practice the principles of Dr. King and how we still have much work to do. Well, you're not doing the work. Yes, you do have work to do and you're not doing it. It's all lip service. Why? Because you still have a police chief who admittedly targeted black people when they come to East Lansing. And your own statistics back it up. No one listens to you anymore, Mr. Mayor, because it's all lip service. You're not the face, you're not the voice of East Lansing. It's Chief Brown, and it's because you allowed her to be that face and voice. Let's be clear. Police Chief Jen Brown needs to resign, and the East Lansing City Council, the city manager, and yes, the mayor, you all know it. The evidence is undeniable. The public has seen the video. East Lansing police officers using excessive force pepper spraying 2 young black men during Michigan State University's Welcome Week in August. This alone demands accountability, but Chief Brown's response made an unacceptable situation inexcusable. When questioned about the incident, she stated, "We have a very transient population, and over the last month, starting with Welcome Weekend, we have had a disproportionate number of minorities come into the community and commit crimes, and as police officers, we are simply responding to those crimes." These words are not merely unfortunate or poorly chosen, they are racist, inflammatory, and disqualifying. A police chief who views an influx of minority residents as inherently criminal has no business leading a police force in any community, least of all one that includes a diverse university population. Leadership sets the standard. When the chief traffics in racial stereotyping, officers follow suit. The culture of a department flows directly from the top. Chief Brown has not resigned. So that means the responsibility now falls squarely on each and every one of you, the East Lansing City Council, the City Manager, Robert Bellman, and Mayor Eric Altman. Every day Chief Brown remains in her position is another day that you endorse her racism. Every day without action is a public declaration that you stand with her 100%. Your inaction is not neutrality. It is complicity. And therefore, you have made her the voice of your city. She has set the tone for East Lansing. She's your welcoming committee. She's the face of East Lansing. We will not stop demanding Chief Brown's resignation. But make no mistake, our focus is now on you. Remove Chief Brown or accept that you own her words, her leadership, and her failures as your own. The residents of East Lansing, students, families, and community members of every background deserve better. We deserve leaders who reject racism unequivocally, and act with moral courage. Not a group of elected officials and leaders who give in to lip service. The choice is yours. The time is now. Replace Jen Brown. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Honey.
Hello. I'm going to use my time to give us all the opportunity to bear witness to the audio. I wish I could show a video, but I can't, of what happened directly after the pepper spray. I think that I'm assuming or hoping that most of you have watched the video of the pepper spraying incident. I don't know how many of you, there's 2 new council members, had watched the video posted to your own East Lansing website from the body-worn camera of Kingsbury of what happened following the pepper spraying directly in the face of these young men. So.
Nothing. He sprayed me in my pocket. He sprayed me in my face. Nothing on my pocket.
This is Mason, handcuffed behind his back, having walked down the street, following directions every step of the way. And his mom had to leave the room because I warned her that I was going to be playing this, and it's very traumatic, as I can imagine you all would feel if this was your son.
Nothing in my pocket.
Mason is standing outside the van, handcuffed behind the hands behind him.
I'm trying to wipe my face. Can you wipe my face? Can you wipe my face for me?
He just asked, "Can you wipe my face? Can you wipe my face for me?" Now he's spitting because he has pepper spray in his mouth. These are some of Mason's friends walking by him, seeing him being arrested.
You can walk past. Dude, can you unharm me now? No, Corey, watch out, Corey, watch out. No, I'm trying to tell him, watch out. Corey, watch out. That is quick question. Corey, watch out, Corey. Mason, you're good. Corey, watch out, Corey.
Because getting searched, so,
I just asked if he's arrested or he's detained, that's all I'm asking.
yes, he's arrested.
Okay, that's all I'm asking. If he's arrested. It's burning though, it's burning in my right eye, it's burning.
I understand that, but you
It's
keep
burning.
moving, I cannot get you help.
You know I don't got nothing on me, it's burning
I do
though.
not know that. You
Yes,
don't know
you
that.
know that. It's burning.
Well, you will not.
I can't see shit.
You will not.
It's burning.
Okay, please step back.
JC, I'll be transporting the other one. It's burning, I can't see shit.
She's opening the door, trying to direct him into the car, and he is telling her, I can't see, S-H-I-T, it's burning.
You're going to jail. You're going to jail and take a seat in the car.
For what?
You're going to jail for fighting.
I didn't fight anybody.
Okay, stand up.
I can't see anything. I can't see anything. I didn't fight
And
anybody.
I will help you then. You need to stand up straight up.
Ma'am, I didn't fight anybody.
Stand up. Okay.
I didn't
Step there. Sit there, slide your feet in. Slide your feet in.
I fought nobody.
Okay, turn your feet in.
I
Get your
didn't.
feet in.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't fight anybody.
Put your feet in the car!
I can't see anything.
Dude, how fucking hard is that?
Is that the standard of policing that you all on city council and that our city manager is okay with? Like he just said, the voice of East Lansing. We were shocked. Most of us were shocked when we saw the ICE agent, after he shot the woman in the face, call her an effing bitch. And yet here is our police officer cussing at this young man, even if he had been guilty of what he was accused of, which he was not. You don't treat people that way. You're innocent until proven guilty. It's horrifying. It's embarrassing. It's unacceptable. And I want you to all look inward and ask yourself, is this the standard of policing that we are okay with in our community? And then just today, I read in the newspaper, Carrie Sampson, a city spokesperson, said East Lansing will not be investigating these two officers, Andrew Lyons and J.C. Kingsbury. No investigation. This happened 5 months ago. 5 months ago. These two officers are walking around on the street with handcuffs and mace. Unacceptable.
Thank you. Kath Edsel.
Good evening. I'm going to have to put the book club on hold for at least another meeting, but I am heartened by the fact that an anonymous donor provided each of you with a copy of The New Jim Crow. Feel free to read ahead. I'm Kath Edsel, and I'm the Vice Chair of the East Lansing Independent Police Oversight Commission. The first part of my comments are as my role as the Vice Chair. At our last meeting, I was asked by the Commission to follow up on a motion that was passed unanimously by Ellie Pock at our December meeting. You should each have received a copy of that motion via email, and I pass it out again, a hard copy tonight. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I will summarize it to say that following the motion that was passed by City Council on October 21st, 2025, which asked for an independent review of ELPD's actions during Welcome Weekend in August, Ellie Pock had concerns specific to the chief's actions during that Welcome Weekend. These concerns include her leadership regarding the violation of policies specific to deployment of OC spray, the duty to intervene, the ensuing press release which named individuals in what appears to be a direct violation of policy, and her withholding of video footage that contradicted the narrative of a violent fight in a press release. Our motion requested that these be addressed in the independent review. Furthermore, LEPOC called for the full unredacted results of the review to be released in full to the public. I'm asking the council tonight, as vice chair of LEPOC, if they plan to follow up on the independent review and to include LEPOC's concerns during the review. If you don't answer tonight, an email would be fine. This next part, while it relates to the work of the Oversight Commission, I was not specifically instructed by Commission to follow up on these items. Therefore, I am now speaking on behalf of myself and not the Commission. At the November meeting of LEPOC, the Commission passed 2 motions to file complaints against the officers who were primarily involved in the OC spraying of Lonnie Smith and Mason Woods during Welcome Weekend. When asked via email if these complaints had been assigned to an investigator, the chief replied that based on the advice of the city attorney, they would not be investigated. At the January LEPOC meeting, I followed up and asked the chief if she was above the law. Given that Ordinance 1533 states the police department shall be responsible for investigating each complaint and gives a 90-day timeline. Wondered how she could not comply. She repeated that upon advice of counsel, she would not be doing an investigation. When asked how an attorney's opinion supersedes the law, she replied, "Next question." Also at the January LEPOC meeting, the chief reported that the department had undertaken anti-bias training. This appears to be the training approved by the council at your December 9th meeting for approximately $8,000. I followed up her announcement and asked how she plans to evaluate the effectiveness of the training. She replied that, as with many trainings, she asked the officers what they thought of the training and did they find it valuable. When I pushed and asked what data or tools she would use to determine effectiveness, she said she would send the employees a survey asking how they felt about the training. Now take a moment to think about that, about the ridiculousness of that answer. If I were to take a calculus class to become a math major, on what planet would I be accepted into the math department by answering a survey on how well I liked the class? We have significant amounts of data that indicate racial bias as well as other forms of bias in our police department. And addressing racial bias that we have, and addressing racial bias is one of the tenets for creating the Oversight Commission. And we now have a chief who is requesting the council pay for trainings. She doesn't even have a clue as to how to determine their effectiveness. How is she going to lead a department where, 1, she does not see there is a problem, 2, she makes public her racism, and 3, doesn't have a clue to know if she is making progress on decreasing bias in her department? Taken together, there is no doubt this is simply performative. And all of you, the council, the city manager, and the chief, think we are fooled by the incredulousness of the performance. Let me say we are not. And we will continue to remind you that we are not in the weeks and months to come until she is gone and the real work is done.
Thank you. Jennifer Venn.
Hi. August 24th, 5 months ago, almost to this day, Mason Woods and Lonnie Smith were pepper sprayed, illegally detained, and illegally charged of a criminal crime, all while having their human rights be violated and policy that you guys have put into place as the city of East Lansing be violated. As I think about this, I really think it's easy to look over at the atrocities and the violations against other human beings that's done across this country, and we have this cognitive dissonance that it's not us and it's not our problem up until the problem comes into our city and it comes into our state, and we are called into action. And I think in these moments is where we really see the consequence of inaction in the face of wrong, in the face of evil. To have that happen not only to members of East Lansing, students, active community members, is atrocious, and it's a stain on our in East Lansing history. And to have that happen during MSU's Welcome Weekend, where a multitude of students engage in drinking, in camaraderie, and have that be the ending of their nights, all while they are physically harmed and detained. And the comments that the police chiefs made in response to the action, in response to the inaction and the improper procedures that her police officers under her charge took is truly atrocious. And it truly hurts me to know that even though we have all the history of our country, we have the history of East Lansing, we still continue to choose inaction. We continue to let wrong actions proceed and protect the perpetrators instead of the victims. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Kreitzberg.
Well, golly, I feel like my concerns are quite divergent from these pressing issues, but I'll attempt to address my concern. In watching over the past 10 months national news, I'm concerned and wondering if the council has thought about any preparations with respect to ICE. One just has to watch the national news and be terrified. And so I just thought I'd bring that up. I'm not sure that the council's the appropriate venue. There may be private agencies or community members that will head this up, but again, I wondered if the council had thought about any preparatory work just in case. Thank you.
Thank you. Nadia Sellers.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood for love, justice, and equality. Racism may never end in this country, but in this community, we're going to slow it down. We're going to make Chief Brown, this council, the city manager, the city attorney, and anyone else who's on the side of Chief Brown famous, but for the wrong reasons. I know you know about the billboard. That's just the beginning. Dr. King said, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I'm here to tell all of you, you will be judged by the content of your characters. You are being judged by the content of your character. Our kids, Kelly and I, Mason and Lonnie, should not have endured the abuse they did at the hands of the East Lansing police officers lying in Kingsbury. Officers who today, to our knowledge, has not been suspended, written up, or terminated. And then to make matters worse, your police chief puts their name in the paper for a misdemeanor before they even have their day in court. Kelly and I told you from the beginning, you picked on the wrong kids. And I stand here and say it again today. Too many young African-American men and women don't have people to advocate for them. That's not the case here. They don't have the finances, legal counsel, so they can get abused by the system. A system designed to punish them just for the color of their skin. I would never call you mayor. So, Mr. Altman, Dr. King said there comes a time when silence is betrayal. Your silence, sir, is clear. You stand for injustice and discrimination against minorities. You stand with Jen. But King said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And you, sir, are a threat to this community. Chuck, one must take a position that's neither safe nor nor popular. But he must take it because his conscience tells him it's right. Whelan, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that, sir. Sing, the time is always right for you to do what is right. In the words of Dr. King. Meadows, Dr. King said true peace is not merely the absence of tension. It is the presence of justice. Chuck, you are the only black face on this council. Because of that, you will experience or had already experienced things your counterparts would never fully understand. I pray that you use this platform not just to occupy space like some of the others, but to educate, to teach them what it's like to be black in this country, what it's like to feel the weight and force of racism for the color of your skin, something you never chose and could never change. Seeing I've encountered you on multiple occasions, and I see 2 sides of you. I see the side that wants to do the right thing, and I also see the side that struggles with the hard question. A heart that says, I am not a racist, but actions that are at times suggest otherwise. Seeing, I hope you choose your heart. Medals. You are the one member of this council I feel I don't fully know yet, but what I do see is a good man. I hope that during your time here, your legacy will be one of bringing people together for the greater good of humanity. I genuinely believe you are capable of doing that, sir. I believe civil rights are everyone's rights. Dr. King just didn't march for black folks. He marched for people that look like you too. Please don't forget that. We are all part of the human race. We may look different, act different, and experience life differently. But in the end, we all live and we will all die. All of you have a chance to make a difference, and I hope you do. I know you're tired of looking at us, but let me tell you, I am so tired of looking at you. Your city manager, your city attorney, your chief, your police officers, they're disgrace to this community. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? You were elected for the people, and the people are black, white, male, female, and different.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
I am going to be here until you decide to stand up and do something that's not popular. Fire your chief. If you haven't seen the billboard, we're having a conference tomorrow, a press conference for the world to view it, and you're invited at 2:15. Don't be jealous, because eventually your face will get up there too.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the council? Yes, please.
Good evening. My name is Farhan Omar. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Chuck. Chuck has done a lot of incredible work in this community, and I'm happy to see you have a seat at that table. So congratulations. Yesterday was Dr. King's Day, and I went to this little lunch at the Lancet Center, and there were many speakers there, one which happens to sit in front of me tonight, and that's the mayor of East Lansing. Mr. Mayor, Dr. King did not ask us to quote him. Dr. King did not ask us to post his pictures on MLK Day. What Dr. King demanded of us is that we continue the work that he started. And the speech that you gave yesterday does not match with the reality that's going on in this city. It just doesn't match. And so it's time that you practice what you preach. Because at the end of the day, I think we're all getting sick and tired of the preaching of all the good things that Dr. King has said that we need to continue to do, but it's not being done. If anybody has made the comments that she made, if a teacher had made those comments, many of you would call for her firing. Many of you would switch your kid out of that classroom. If a doctor had made that comment, many of you will find a different provider. What's the difference? What is the difference here? I see no difference. If us black leaders in this community coming to you and saying that what happened is unacceptable, is not enough, if the NAACP coming out here saying that what she said is unacceptable and she needs to go, if that's not enough, I don't know what is. I really don't know what is. What happened cannot be undone. We get that. But accountability needs to be served. And we haven't seen that yet. This is an incredible city. An incredible city. There's a lot of potential. Good people, full of great people. We got a university not that far from here, educating thousands of kids every year. East Lansing should not be making the headlines for these reasons. It's way too great of a city to be making the wrong headlines. But at the end of the day, you have the power to make the difference that needs to be made in this city. You do. You want to start making that headlines for bad reasons? Get rid of her. It should have been done months ago. And the fact that we're dragging this into a whole new year, what are we waiting for? Leadership matters. Words have consequences. What she believes, it comes all the way down to the police officers. This is the leader of the police department. This is not just some rookie cop that just says something. It's the head of the police chief. She's no different than what Trump says every day. But so many of you are so quick to condemn Trump. So quick to condemn him. But we have a Trump in our own city. So I think you guys need to make a conscious decision. One, you believe what she says, and you stand with her, and you don't want any black person in this community. Or two, you reject what she says. And you do that by getting rid of her. There is no middle. There is no middle. We can debate about who the greatest basketball player is, Michael Jordan, LeBron, whether pineapple goes on pizza or not. When it comes to racism and bigotry and hate, there is no middle. You're either on the right side of history or you're on the wrong side of history. Now is the time to choose. I have no doubt that you guys are all great people. And there's a lot of rules that you guys
have 30
got.
seconds remaining.
There's a lot of rules and contracts and the union and all that. I get it. I get it. But some things cannot be said. Some things cannot be said. And what she said is unacceptable. So I hope you guys don't drag this longer than it needs to be. There's a community that's hurting. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else in the audience would like to address the council? Do we have any callers online?
There's one caller on the line. Caller with your phone number ending in 949, you are now free to address the council.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Ernest Connor, a longtime resident. I had the honor of attending the Dr. King celebration yesterday. The theme was let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream, framed through several powerful speeches and calls of actions from both local and national unsung heroes. Yet, we did not hear that from your speech, Mayor Altman. What we heard was a whole lot of empty nothing sandwiched between real work, and I wondered why. And is it perhaps because, unlike your counterpart in Lansing, you have not done any work surrounding true equity and justice? Or is it because you could not be bothered to even recognize or highlight the praise the chair of the MLK Commission, who happens to be the City of East Lansing's first black DEI director and the only black person in leadership and the only one doing the work year after year who makes East Lansing look good, even when the folks that sit up there next to you have been focused on ensuring that the liberal racism of the so-called silent majority stays comfortable and safe and untouched? Or is it because under current city leadership and its administration, there is nothing to brag about like Andy had to, nothing equitable in our policies or budget, just the exact opposite? Or is it because you really did not earn the seat you are sitting in, and it was infighting in the council that got you the seats? Or perhaps because you could not even be bothered to stand or clap for the awarding of 2 black community leaders who are doing the work you are not doing? Which is it? And I ask you, and I bet I know it's all of the above, because even though you are mayor in name only, you had no class yesterday, and you showed the community just who represents the city of East Lansing when you couldn't be bothered to stand or even give a half-assed speech to celebrate the work we do. And so the theme that shaped everyone's eyes yesterday about honoring Dr. King and the wording and honoring his work, needless to say, most of you were there yesterday, and I only wondered how you slept last night knowing you are perpetrators of fraud, and even though you stood and clapped, most of you could truly not give a damn about equity, inclusion, and belonging. Yet you will stand and smile, and even in your reports today, you will acknowledge that you went to this event and act as if East Lansing is doing the work that Dr. King called us to do. And so I sit here wondering, will we ever see justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream in the city of East Lansing? But I'm beginning to wonder, because your police chief is at best something, at worst full of hatred in her heart. But what she is not is just. Perhaps it's why she did not show up. Last year she showed up, but perhaps it's because the city manager at best is making East Lansing white again with every decision he makes, and at worst, a bold-faced liar. The policies that have come out of the council scream of a new Jim Crow, and I hope you read the book that was donated to you so you could stop fear-mongering, complacency, incompetency, as well as capitulating to the same white supremacy that is the foundation of why East Lansing was founded. We were deputized yesterday to be brave and to refuse apathy in the face of injustice. So I ask you, while you were there clapping, did you take hold of that deputized, or will you just do the opposite? Will you cling to the image and the title and the comfort while others are doing the labor that King demanded? So I ask you again, when you give your reports, do not brag about attending. Do not list the luncheon as another line item in your public diplomacy resume. You ought to apologize to Dr. King for being the embarrassment that you are while pretending to honor his legacy. But do one thing for me, something that none of you have ever done, is give Elaine the thanks that she deserves for continuing to do the work that your inactions show you do not support. Because if justice is ever going to roll down like waters in East Lansing, it will not come from you attending the luncheon. It will come from the people who honors Dr. King, not in word, but in work. I bid you all a good night.
Thank you. Communications from the council, starting to my left, Councilmember Whalen.
Good evening. Several things. I had the privilege of attending the MLK lunch yesterday, and it was a powerful experience. I've been to many things like that before. It's powerful to have the community come together and have dialogue, so I just really appreciate it. I know we had one council member not able to go because of a prior situation, but 4 of us were able to be there. I thought it was a powerful time of interaction. On other issues, it's cold outside, and I'm very thankful that Hannah Community Center was open yesterday as a shelter. I think just as we see, especially next week, it's going to get cold also, as we see people out that are vulnerable, say something, do something. The city does offer services to possibly give someone transport, even if we don't have a shelter open. So that is a concern. Also, we've got a lot of things on the agendas for the next several months that are very, very important for our city. And I welcome people to come in and speak their mind and speak their passions. I think it's very powerful to have the community be involved. So on these next months, I think we have very, very exciting and critical things for the city coming up.
Thank you. Could I ask a staff member to ask the folks at the door to move down a little bit because their conversation is disrupting the meeting? Thank you, Director Lacasse. Councilmember Meadows.
Couple of things. I want to thank all the people who spoke at the microphone this evening and on prior evenings as well. That microphone is there specifically for the purposes of either bringing something to our attention, criticizing us, saying thank you to the city in case we've done something right. And I think it serves its purpose. I just want people to know that we don't ignore what has been spoken of at that microphone. It's an important element of all of our decision-making. I just have a little update that I want to give tonight. It's kind of minor compared to the items that were brought to everyone's attention at the microphone earlier. The Folk Fest. I want to bring people up to date on that. We have spoken with a person to handle all the operational requirements of the Folk Fest, which is currently scheduled for mid-August of this year, the restart of the festival that ended in 2017. We've also spoken with a person to schedule the music that would be presented at the Folk Festival. And just a question about one of the items on the consent agenda. I know that we have one of those items relating to grants requested for the Jazz Festival and some other activities within the community, and I'm wondering why we don't have that same grant request requesting money for the Folk Festival. So maybe we have another grant request that is pending out there, but I'd like to know a little bit more about it. If somebody can make a note and give me some information on that. And really, that's it. I also was at the MLK luncheon yesterday. That was my, I think, 30th time at the luncheon. 12 times I've given the welcome for the city of East Lansing. I'll just say that I thought the welcome that was given was an appropriate welcome and well received within the people, by the people who were there. So that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Grigsby.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say thank you to the audience that's communicated their issues and their concerns. Many things that you spoke to tonight hit home. Some of those issues that you brought up today, I don't get to lay down and set them down. I live with them every single day. Stuff that's very, very important to me. Your words matter. They're impactful. And it's something that I wrestle with throughout my day, throughout my night, throughout my mornings. I think about it all the time as far as some of the things that we can do going forward, how we can get there together. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming in and sharing what's important to you in the manner that you do it. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Singh.
Thank you. A couple of things. One, I did plan to give Elaine Hardy a shout out for helping to lead the organization of a 1,600-person dinner, the largest, it was mentioned several times, the largest MLK luncheon in the country, which I think is phenomenal. As someone who has spent some time in Southeast Michigan, I get nervous when I hear Mark McDaniel start talking about the biggest, baddest. It's the biggest, baddest luncheon, not the biggest, baddest chapter. No offense, Mr. Pope. To the Lansing branch of the NAACP, the Detroit branch is the biggest, baddest, largest. So anyway, just want to give that a shout out. And then I also want to say, for the community members and advocates that we heard from tonight, I know some of the comments we heard are on the agenda for this evening. I do want to reflect back into some of the proceedings this fall. And I want to read from the October 21st meeting. If you may recall, we had a closed session that night, came out and moved forward. And it was former member, then member, council member Dana Watson, who made the motion to authorize the city attorney to retain outside counsel to undertake an independent review of actions, policies, and procedures of the East Lansing Police Department that relate to an impact on the public and arrests during the situations, including those that occurred during Welcome Weekend, for Michigan State University to the present and prosecution related to the same, and to provide counsel with a confidential and privileged report and recommendations. I in part wanted to reiterate that. It's all in the minutes. Many of you were at that meeting. I referenced that work, that motion is pretty expansive. The work that has to be done through this review will take some time, which I know can be further aggravating and frustrating and hurtful. But from my standpoint, and why I thought it was important for that motion, was because of the concerns. Not of one individual at the city, but for a variety of aspects when we look at measures that the city has to implement, including community policing. So I just wanted to reference again what's part of the record, what I felt was important at that time, and this is a continuation and work in progress to help support our community for better outcomes over the long term. So with that, I will kick it over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And for my report, I will just note that the city is watching what's going on at the national level closely, and we are thinking about how best to address those sorts of issues if they happen to hit home here in East Lansing. City Manager's report. Acting City Manager Irwin.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Hannah Community Center is a warming center for our community, and I have talked to the staff. They're prepared for all of this week to be available and open to anyone who needs a place to get warm. And the hours of the Hannah Community Center are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. We will have more information that comes out written, but I did want to share that bit of information this evening. I did want to, on behalf of the city manager, speak to the MLK luncheon and thank all of those, including Director Hardy, for all of the hard work that I'm sure goes on throughout an entire year to prepare for such a large-scale event. And it has been recognized broadly that it is the largest luncheon ongoing, I believe, that there is in the nation. So that is something for our whole region to be proud of. The other couple of items, there is, if you are downtown, the downtown businesses are featuring art by local students in K through 12, and that will be January 13th through February 23rd. There's 26 businesses that are participating in this, and I encourage everyone to come downtown, take a look in the windows, and while you're right there, come on in and do business in East Lansing. And a couple other quick things. This Friday evening is the MSU professors and students are holding a media happenings at Scene Metro Space, also in our downtown. There is information on the city's website, but that's 7 to 8 p.m. Friday. There will be, it's in the press release, a mashup of dance, music, and LED screens. But it does bring together professors, Allison Dobbins, Alexis Bacon, Alexandria Davis, and Anthony Marasco, MSU students in the city of East Lansing on a project downtown, Introduction to Projection Design course that is happening. I do want to point out one thing that caught my attention at the very end of our press release, I think is very true. The quote is by the Professor Dobbins, "Media is so often something we all consume. Shifting to working and creating media is the same difference as going from eating food to learning how to cook. You have to go in there and mess around with different ingredients and see what sticks," she said. Couple of things that I noticed is media is something we so often consume. Isn't that true? We should probably be careful about what we consume. But the other parts that I noticed is right away I was struck with, isn't this a great connection between the community, the professors at MSU, and the students of Michigan State University. And that's really one of the great things about living and working and playing and live in this particular East Lansing MSU community, that the community gets to provide, and we are kind of the learning lab for the students when they come over here and do these things. One other piece of exciting news that I will share that I don't know if council has even heard yet, but I did get an email from Justin Dworke this afternoon, and I am looking at our grant coordinator. She probably has, maybe she doesn't have the information. Oh, well, this will be really exciting. But I will say that congratulations. Justin has received news that they received a grant of $695,280 for the before and after school program for the third year in a row. This is the Michigan Department of Lifelong Education Advancement and Potential just recently announced the recipients of which we are a grant recipient. The city's school age care program will receive this grant to support the before and after school program and school age summer camps. So we congratulate Justin and his team on receiving that grant and continuing with the great work that we provide for our community and children. That is all I have this evening, Mayor.
Great news. Thank you. City Attorney's report. Acting City Attorney Rela.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have nothing to report tonight.
All right. Thank you. Consent agenda. Acting City Manager Irwin.
Yes, thank you. 3.1, approve the following reappointments to boards or commissions. Dan Bowles to the Building Board of Appeals for a full term ending December 31st, 2028. Jeffrey Friedel to the Building Board of Appeals for a full term ending December 31st, 2028. 3.2, approve resolution 2026-4 to authorize an application to the Michigan Arts and Culture Council's fiscal year 2026 experience support grant and authorize the city manager to sign the applicant assurance of compliance form. 3.3, approve traffic control order, TCO, 504, no parking on the east side of Glen Haven Avenue between Harrison Road and Wildwood Drive. 3.4, approve updates to the 2026 Zoning Board of Appeals bylaws. 3.5, approve the addition of a City Council special budget work session meeting on April 28, 2026 at 7 p.m. 3.6, approve Chapter 6, Ordinance 1549, and Chapter 7, Ordinance 1538, being deferred to the February 17, 2025 City Council meeting. Approve a contract with Hedrick Associates for $23,903 to replace the City Hall data room cooling unit with a $5,000 project contingency and authorize the city manager to sign. 3.8, approve a contract with the Hedrick Associates for $23,903 to replace the Fire Station 1 data room cooling unit with a $5,000 project contingency. Authorize the city manager to sign and approve a related budget amendment. 3.9, approve an amendment to January 6, 2026 consent agenda. 4.1, Human Rights Commission appointment of Julia Walters. 3.10, approve a request to add one FTE downtown lead worker position to the Department of Public Works and Environmental Services Department, funded by the Downtown Development Authority, and approve a related budget amendment and authorize the chief financial officer or their designee to modify appropriations accordingly. That is the end of the consent agenda.
Thank you for that excellent rendition of the consent agenda. Would any council member like any items removed from the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Singh.
Second.
Second by Whalen. Any discussion?
Just one comment, because we do have some changes to bylaws here, and we did ask the city attorney to take a look at generally the bylaw activity to see whether there should be a standard items within our bylaws which we allow for every board and commission. So that's just a reminder that we're looking for something like that.
Okay, so the motion is on approval of the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing to receive comments on a proposed special use at 111 East Saginaw Street. The request is from Alex Sawicki on behalf of Sheets, Inc. for approval to construct a 6,139 square feet Sheets restaurant with a drive-through and 4 gas pump islands with 8 pumps. The property is zoned B2 Retail Sales Business District. Staff, please.
Alicia Wrighton, Planning Department. This property consists of 2.135 acres, which is the site of the current vacant Rite Aid building. The request is for construction of a 6,139 square foot Sheets restaurant with a drive lane and 8 double-sided fuel pumps, as the mayor mentioned, and it is zoned B2. In the B2 district, drive-throughs and auto service stations or gas stations require special use approval by the City Council with a recommendation by the Planning Commission. On December 17th, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the request with 8 conditions outlined in the staff report, which include meeting all department requirements in accordance with all codes and regulations, permits, water and sewer requirements, stormwater, soil erosion, lighting, and filing of an executed memorandum of special use upon approval. The 2018 comprehensive plan designates this site as a C2 commercial use. This land use category is shown on the future land use map primarily along major streets north of Saginaw Highway and Hazlitt Road. The category allows for restaurants, office, retail, service, and laboratory uses. Auto service stations or gas stations are not specifically listed in the C2 commercial category of the 2018 comprehensive plan. The intent of the land use category is to provide a transition between the flexible land use options provided in the C3 land use category and the more conservative land use options reflected in the C1 land use category. The commercial 2 category is most analogous to the B5 community retail sales business zoning district, which allows a wide variety of retail and office uses and services, and residential uses are not permitted. The B5 district requires a minimum building height of 4 stories, but allows building with up to 6 stories on a special use permit. Should be noted that the areas designated in the future land use map are primarily B1 and B2 categories, with the exception of the C Community Facilities designation, which is where East Lansing Fire Station number 1 is located. And there is no B5 zoning in the area identified as the C2 category. The proposal is to construct a single-story, 26-foot tall, 6,139 square foot Sheets restaurant with a drive-through with 8 pumps and 16 handles serving up to 16 vehicles at a time. The restaurant provides 30 interior seats as well as 16 year-round outdoor seats. The restaurant includes kiosks for ordering made-to-order food, such as appetizers, sandwiches, salads, wraps, milkshakes, smoothies, and coffee. The restaurant will sell takeaway alcohol for off-site consumption, which is regulated by the state of Michigan. The proposed facade design includes red brick veneer, beige cast stone masonry with a cast stone sill. The proposed design includes a metal standing seam roof. Awnings cap all of the windows and are also standing seam metal. There's also a brick paver walkway, and the red color scheme is similar to the business center located across the street southeast of the site. The proposed vestibule entrance has an architectural canopy with a hip tower roof and a secondary vestibule with a hip tower roof and 1 additional customer egress point. The canopy complements the building in color and massing with a stone base to match the store. There are also 2 staff service egress points that exit to the southeast and northwest points of the building opposite the fuel pumps. The proposed plan includes 3 outdoor display areas around the building. There's a washer fluid station between the main entrances. The ice and propane are screened with aluminum fencing. These were moved to the north side of the building after receiving comments after the Planning Commission meeting. The applicant was also asked to consider moving the rooftop access ladder, but since the location cannot be moved, the ladder has been made removable. Trash area will be fully screened with brick walls and dark bronze steel gates. The lighting meets the ordinance standards. With 14 pole lights, 23 feet in height, with 29 building lights, parapet lighting, and so forth. Trees are provided in compliance with the ordinance. The proposal also includes 13 stacking spaces for the drive lane, and the minimum is 10. The original proposal included 2 touch-point menu boards with canopy covers 13 feet tall, 6 feet wide, and drive-through clearance sign at the entrance to the stacking lane. The drive lane has been converted from a traditional drive-through with menu order points to be strictly a pickup lane for orders placed on the Sheets app. The menu order points have been removed from the plans since the Planning Commission meeting. 1 EV space is provided. 8 bike parking spaces are also provided, exceeding the minimum requirements. There is slight improvement in pervious coverage from the existing Rite Aid development with a reduction of 356 square feet. The city's engineering department provided comments regarding stormwater and soil erosion. Stormwater plan for this project has been redesigned from the initial submission to follow the recommendations of the Green Code Study Committee, and the applicant will address this further. Staff routed a copy of the proposal to fire, police, building, and engineering departments, and comments from each department are included in the staff report. The city engineer provided comments on January 15th after council staff report was completed. The comments included 50 feet of the property that extends to the center line of Abbott, which will need to be dedicated to the city as public right-of-way, and the applicant is aware and planned on doing so. There's also a reference to sheet C7, which comes during full set submission for permits. The applicant was provided the same comments on January 15th and will address these further. An additional traffic study was undertaken by the applicant. An updated report was conducted in November 2025 when the students were in session and the new marathon was open. MDOT governs Saginaw Street, and in an email to the city's engineer this past Friday from Melissa Longworth, operations engineer for MDOT, they stated that due to the existing driveway being shared with an existing business, and the drive is not on the Sheets property, restricting movements is less likely to be required by MDOT. The developer has addressed comments that MDOT had related to the signal, and that MDOT was going to let them know that they should proceed with permit process and likely approve as proposed. The city engineer did reply to that email that the department will let the developer know that they are okay to move forward with regards to that comment, and I believe the applicant has also been in contact with MDOT. Site has 2 existing ingress and egress points, one at the east end of the property from Saginaw, and the other at the north end of the property from Abbott. There is a 3rd connection point at the northeast corner of the neighboring property. In addition to the traffic study comments from the engineer, the engineering department identified on-site queuing concerns and site driveway number 2, which is the one on Abbott. The developers indicated they're not concerned about on-site queuing and that the driveway will not change. The applicant will speak to the traffic study and engineering comments. The original proposal included 2 pole signs, which were 14 feet tall, 2-sided, with their logo and display area of over 70 square feet. However, they've reduced their signage in size and square feet to become monument signs, 7.5 feet in height, 39 square feet on each side. One will be on Abbott and one will be on Saginaw. They include 2 canopy-mounted sheet signs, and the proposed signage meets the requirements of the ordinance. I can take questions, and the applicant is here.
Questions for staff? Councilmember Whalen.
Sorry. It seems that everything that we've asked, they've accommodated,
Yes.
which is a pretty huge. Also, I want to give a recognition to you, Alicia, that the amount of work that's represented here is huge, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate your protecting the city. Originally, help me with my memory, there was a Pizza Hut. Wasn't a Pizza Hut and a gas station there originally? There was a Pizza Hut and a Shell station way
I know
back
there was a
when.
gas station years ago in that location.
Pizza Hut was right over there somewhere. Anyway, so thank you for clarifying that.
Anybody else? Mr. Redos.
Just about condition
Microphone.
Thought I had that on. Okay. I guess I got to look at the light, right? So, with regard to clarify what per testimony is supposed to mean, and I assume that that means as required by the council. In other words, changes to the original proposal as required by council or the planning commission. Is that what that's referring to?
So in accordance with testimony is when the applicant gives their presentation, and then should city council provide any additional comments or concerns or conditions
So
that the
it'd
applicant
be-
then would accept.
That would be the applicant's testimony?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. And you've already received the commitment from the applicant as to the changes you've identified, is that correct?
Yes, verbally
Okay.
and in email.
And hopefully at this microphone?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. That was my question.
Other questions for staff? I'm seeing none. Let's hear from the applicant.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
There we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Sawicki from Sheets. You can find me at 39300 West 12 Mile Road, Farmington Hills, Michigan. First and foremost, I apologize. I think it was you on the end, sir. I do want to commend your staff. They have been fantastic to work with. I work with planning staffs and communities all over Southeast Michigan and Northwest Ohio, and they are some of the best, no doubt about it. And I want to make sure that was on the record because that is it's important to note. Before I give you an opportunity to ask us questions about the particular proposal in front of you, and I also have some of our consultants this evening, I want to just take a couple minutes to introduce you to what Sheets is. If you'll indulge me, if it's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, by a show of hands, have any of you been to a Sheets before? Okay, 2. All right. So Sheets was founded in 1952 in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So it's over 70 years old now. Altoona is just about 45 minutes south of State College, if you know where that's at. It was actually founded by Bob Sheets. Sheets is the family's last name. And like I said, over 70-some years later now and growing from 1 to over 820 locations across 7 states, they are still family-owned and operated by the Sheets family. There are about a dozen and a half Sheets family members that work in the business every day. One of them is the director of the team that I'm on. And their CEO is now 3rd generation, which is no small feat for a business. Sheets is a restaurant and convenience store first and foremost. So for almost the first 25 years of our business, we didn't sell fuel. We started as the restaurant convenience store. We have full kitchens in our restaurants that make what we call MTOs, made to order. You can get literally 1.8 million different combinations out of our kitchen. And I was actually thinking about this presentation earlier today, and I always get to this point, and I don't know how to convey some of the wackiest things that some people and their strange sensibilities order. So I went on the Google machine and I looked up crazy MTO orders. And one that was particularly gross to me, and I hope I'm not offending anyone in here, was someone ordered a hot dog with sour cream, pickles, and pepperoni on it. Sounds gross, but we'll make it for you if that's what you want. But beyond the super weird hot dog, we sell salads and burgers, subs, chicken, all your fried apps, burritos. We sell all sorts of breakfast stuff. We also have Sheets Brothers coffee, so you can get espressos and milkshakes and all the things that you can think of there. And the grocery items and the convenience items. So it's much more than just the chips and snacks. You can get bread, eggs, bacon, toilet paper, and all 24/7. So if you really need to get bacon at 3 in the morning, I can hook you up, and I can understand why you might want that. At least me, anyway. And I think that what that really shows you is we go above and beyond in everything that we do, and that's not just in the offer that we give to our customers or that we try to build for our customers, but it's also in the proposal that you have in front of you today. We have high quality architectural, full section brick and stone, the architectural metals, the glazing, everything that your planner indicated to. And it's also about being a good neighbor. We do try to put forward really clean applications in front of cities and townships because we want to make sure we fit in with what you guys have. We also take care of all of our own maintenance in-house, all of our own landscaping, and we're just a really, really good employer. So I bring up the maintenance aspect specifically because when I started at Sheets over 7 years ago now, I actually started at Sheets as an electrician. I'm an electrician by trade. They brought me in, and I was on the maintenance team. For the first year, I actually rode around in a bucket truck, and I would fix the lights and the signage in our parking lot. But they put me through school. They put me through both bachelor's and master's degree, and now I work in our engineering department. That's just one testimonial to one of the great reasons why they're an awesome employer. But they also have unrivaled PTO, we have employee stock, 401ks, bonus, the tuition reimbursement, medical, dental, vision, and so much more for every single employee. We do lots of philanthropy work. Sheets for the Kids is our biggest, Sheets for the Kids is our biggest partner that we work with. It was actually founded by 2 district managers back in 1992. And we're just coming out of their biggest month of the year in December. What Sheets for the Kids does in December is every single store across our footprint, so 820 stores, buys for roughly 18 kids in the local community to make their holidays just a little bit brighter. So if you do that math, in the month of December, we affected 150,000 kids' lives just a couple weeks ago. And that's just one example of something that we do every year, and we make sure it has local impact. We donate to local food banks out of every single store every single week. That'll include this location. And overall, it's just really going above and beyond and being a good community partner. So I'm done with my ramblings. Thank you for listening. I'm here to answer your questions, and I have my civil engineer and my traffic engineer with me this evening as well.
Questions for the applicant? Councilmember.
Please.
Mr. Grigsby.
So I apologize if I'm supposed to know some of these things. It was a pretty long document here. How many jobs is this location going to bring to the local?
30 to 35 jobs, preferably all full-time.
35 jobs
30
full-time?
to 35, yes, sir.
Oh, okay. And then, so I'm assuming this is 24 hours? The kitchen's going to be available?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the recommendations for changes or modifications they would talk about, you have any concerns or issues with any of those to being made?
No.
That's all I had.
Thank you. Councilmember Singh, did you have?
I just wanted to flag a couple of things that came to mind during your overview. One is a conversation that's been ongoing in front of our body is the unhoused community that we have in downtown East Lansing and largely the region. But I just wanted to flag that, especially with some of the community service work that Sheets also does, that maybe there's a future collaboration. I'm kind of looking at city staff, just flagging and kind of brainstorming, riffing off of what you mentioned as well. Two is appreciate the landscaping pieces, because I know, especially that lot, it's a very popular and lot in terms of not only the traffic that goes by, but we used to have 2 historic properties. I'm looking at our resident historian, Mr. Meadows. Sorry, I am teasing you a little bit.
I'm old enough to do that, so.
But, the gas station across the street has been renovated recently, but it was a mid-mod architecture. So I just bring up the landscaping on your lot being really important to the community in terms of that look and feel on that space. So this is just, I'm echoing and probably highlighting things you have heard along the way. And then the last thing, because you are 24 hours, and again, reflecting on a lot of the conversations that we've had about our downtown space, while you are removed and people will have to either walk to or drive into your location, that it will be a priority. Hopefully you have cleaning service in some capacity. Things can get a little ruckus, on game weekends with people eating in your parking lot or what have you. So I just want to flag those things that I'm projecting what could be future concerns that we would hear from the community.
Noted, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, not to mention the enemy in this room, but we have locations, that are in Penn State's backyard, so, and many other universities. Oh, shots fired. We know how to handle it.
I'm not worried because, we hired our new football coach before them, so I'm feeling fine
Yes,
about what that
you guys
future
did
looks
good.
like.
I do have a couple of questions. So one of our standards for review for special use permits addresses the enjoyment of adjacent properties by being affected by excessive noise from the premises. And so I did make a field trip. My wife and I made the field trip to Romulus, one of your Romulus locations. And the first thing I noticed getting out of the car is that there was a lot of music being broadcast from speakers in the pumps and maybe from the outside of the building also. I'm not sure that's going to work here because we've got an office building next door and residential right across the street, and the memo from your attorney makes the case that everything about the operation is quiet, and so we shouldn't worry about that particular issue of noise emanating from the property. So I'm wondering if you would be amenable to a condition on your SUP that would prohibit broadcast of amplified music outdoors.
Yes, I do want to clarify something, though. I cannot remove the speakers. I have to be able to keep them for emergency announcements.
That's fine.
People outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can leave the music off.
Okay, that's great. Appreciate that. And I will echo comments made earlier. I watched the Planning Commission hearing. I really appreciate your proactive responses to the comments that came from the commissioners, but also from members of the public who spoke at the commission, and that seemed to affect the ultimate design, and the actions you've taken in terms of stormwater are appreciated, and also the EV charging and lowering the signs and a bunch of other steps that you took, I think are all appreciated. Are there any of your locations that are not 24/7?
No.
Okay, so the idea is to keep it that way.
Yes.
I guess I have one last question. I'm not sure if it's for the applicant or for staff. So this used to be a gas station at some point, right, on this property. And then we remediated that at some point, presumably to get the right in. What would happen if this were now to convert from a gas station to something else in the future? Who would be responsible for that, the cost of remediation?
So it was to answer, I don't apologize, gentlemen, I don't remember which one of you brought up. It was a gas station, then it was a Pizza Hut, and then it was the Rite Aid for one of you that asked.
Okay.
We are responsible.
Okay. And is that under law? Is that per
Yes.
law these days? Or okay.
Yes.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'd like to ask staff and the applicant to work together with a condition on a condition that we can include concerning broadcast of amplified noise for our next business meeting. And then there's also a stormwater condition on there. And I'd like to do with that condition what we've done with a couple of recent projects, which is ask that the applicant commit to decreasing the net runoff from the property relative to pre-development, which I have no doubt that you're already going to do given the direction you're headed, but I just would like that to be in the conditions because we have language concerning that.
No problem.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Of you, actually. I assumed we were voting on this tonight. Are you proposing that we delay a vote so that those two conditions can be developed by staff?
Yeah, so let me address the procedural issue. So we are certainly not barred from voting tonight, but customarily we wait to vote until the business meeting after the meeting where we hold the public hearing. That's just our custom, and what it does is it allows us all to chew over what we've heard tonight and perhaps be in touch with constituents in the interim. But it's up to the council whether anybody would like to make a motion. So, but we have to hold a public hearing first.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with,
Okay.
waiting. This seemed pretty cooked at this point in time. So those are two new conditions that I support.
Okay.
I think they're excellent. I'll note that, the music out of the gas pumps that seems to have developed over the last decade or so is more annoying than it is helpful when we're pumping gas and we're trying to think about the next thing that we're going to do. So I think that's a great proposal.
Mr. Whalen, do you have your finger on the trigger?
What is the possible procedure? We have a meeting the 27th and the 3rd.
We do not have a meeting on the 27th.
We do
have
not. I'm free that night. That's good news. I'm sorry.
You can
we
go
do
to
have it on the
Sheets.
3rd. That is
So-
a normal meeting, correct?
On the 3rd. That is a normal business meeting. And so what
So
happens?
you're suggesting we would take this to the vote on the 3rd?
On the 3rd. So if we take no action tonight, then under our operating procedures, whatever items we do not act on carry over to our next business meeting. Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing and ask anyone who would like to address this issue to please approach the podium. Good
Hi,
evening.
Megan. Molly Spooner, 815 Stewart. This does sound really cool, and I've heard people that really like Sheets, but I do think 24 hours seems concerning. So I just don't, seems like light, sound, traffic. I would just double click on that one. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the council on this issue?
Okay, I'm coming to this really late.
Please
but-
adjust your microphone so that we can.
Sorry, I'm a lot taller. So the marathon across the street had the similar prerequisite of there must be EV chargers in there, but those EV chargers are useless because they are way too slow. So in terms of like, are they going to be level 2 or level 3 chargers? I would prefer there to be one of level 3, but I am way too late to this, so I have no idea if that's actually in there or not. So that's just what I want to say. Yep.
Thank you for your comments. Would anyone else like to address the council concerning this particular issue? Okay, saying no further comments, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council. I'll leave it to the discretion of the body. Did you have follow-up comments? No?
Well, I'll move that we defer any activity with regard to this to our February 3rd meeting.
We could certainly have that motion. I'm not sure we need one, because if we don't act.
I'm not sure either, but in case we do, I just paid it.
Okay. Does City Attorney see any concerns with that motion?
No concerns with the motion.
No concerns with the motion.
Second.
Okay, moved by Meadows to defer until our February 3rd meeting, second by Grigsby. Any discussion of the motion to defer? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We will see you on the 3rd. Thank you. Thank you, staff. That brings us to our business agenda. Item 5.1 is to introduce and refer to the Planning Commission Ordinance 1563, a request from Thomas Williams to rezone 2900 Coleman Road with parcel number 19-20-50-35-400-135 from R3 DeWitt Township Residential to B5 East Lansing Community Retail Sales Business. Mr. Bartley.
Thank you, Mayor. Landon Bartley, Principal Planner. So yes, this is a rezoning request from a private party to rezone a property with existing DeWitt Township zoning. This and several other properties in the area were transferred to the city of East Lansing from DeWitt Township back in 2001. But the zoning has remained that of DeWitt Township. So if an applicant wishes to do anything but use the property with its existing land use, they need to get the property rezoned to an East Lansing zone district. This applicant has an interest in constructing a housing development with ground floor commercial, and as such is seeking to change the zoning from the current DeWitt Township single-family residential, which is R3. In our designation, we have it as R3 with an asterisk, and seeking to change that to B5 zoning, which corresponds to the comprehensive plan of the future land use map for that area. So this step tonight is the initial step of introduction or referral to the Planning Commission. We would then schedule a Planning Commission public hearing. They would have that public hearing, make a recommendation, vote. It would then come back to you. You would schedule your own public hearing, have that hearing, and then vote on the rezoning. Can I answer any questions about this request or the step tonight?
Questions for Mr. Bartley?
Yeah, there isn't really a map of where this property is contained in our package, but what are the properties adjacent to this particular piece? Because it looks like it's right in the middle of other properties. What are they zoned for at this point in time?
Yeah, so this is on the south side of, and thank you, I should have mentioned that. This is on the south side of Coolidge Road, of Coleman Road, west of Coolidge and east of West Road, sort of about a half mile north of Lake Lansing Road. So this is right in the center of that block between Coolidge and West, and the properties on either side and across the street on the north side of Coleman are all zoned DeWitt Township R3 right now. So DeWitt Township single-family residential, meaning that none of them have East Lansing zoning and none of them correspond to the East Lansing comprehensive plan.
And all of those properties were notified of this item being on the agenda tonight?
No. This is the first step, so no one's been notified of this. Once it's introduced and referred, then the Planning Commission will schedule the public hearing, at which point the first notification will go out. And when council has their own public hearing later, we'd also notify at that time.
Okay.
Councilmember Singh, did you? Mr. Whalen?
Where is this compared to Cole Academy?
Across the street.
Right across the street where there's houses right now?
Close to, yeah.
So there's 2 houses there, right? There's 2 or 3 houses there?
On this property itself, I'm not sure if there's a house right now. I believe that there is.
Oh, it's across the street on Coleman.
Yes, sir. On
Okay.
Coleman, on the south side of Coleman. So again, this is the step. The first step is to introduce and refer the ordinance for consideration by the Planning Commission and a public hearing and a voter recommendation. And then it will come back to you for your own public hearing, consideration, and a vote.
I have a motion.
Please.
I move to introduce and refer ordinance 1563, a request from Thomas Williams to rezone 2900 Coleman Road with parcel number 19-20-50-35-400-135 from R3, DeWitt Township Residential, to B5 East Lansing Community Retail Sales Business, to the Planning Commission for a public hearing and vote of recommendation.
Moved by Singh.
Second.
Second by Whalen. Any discussion of the motion?
I do. I'm going to vote in favor of this motion so that we can get this started anyway. But if, as it stands, I probably would vote against the zoning change because I see it as inconsistent with the adjacent zoning right now. When we brought this property into the city, we agreed to retain the zoning that sits on these properties at this point in time as sort of a holding pattern. But the area along there, which we expected, I think, to develop more in terms of offices or B5 type of activity, just hasn't happened yet. And there are single-family homes there that are still being resided in by families. This, to me, would be inconsistent with what we have there right now. I know that you mentioned in the staff report that we're going to be taking a look at all of that zoning, and I would prefer that that be done all at once rather than piecemeal as this would go forward. But I'd like to hear from both the Planning Commission and the public as to how they feel about this. But as it sits right now, happy to move it on, but I probably would vote against it if it came back as a single change like that.
Question for Mr. Meadows. You're saying we agreed to something? Is that contractually with the township, or what are you saying?
Yeah, the 425 agreement itself, sets the zoning.
So do we need a legal opinion before it even goes to Planning Commission if we agreed to something?
Well, I believe we can change it. I mean, that's part of the agreement that we had with them as well.
I didn't know if there were
These were
terms.
kind of a holding pattern until we had changes within that area. That's why it was left that way. Much like in the further north we left it at RA, or their equivalent of RA, so that it would be, status quo until we had development projects that came in that wanted to make changes to those.
I just would like a sound understanding of what's in writing agreed to versus upon council's change of our zoning. That's different, because then
I think we
it's
can
up to the body.
get you a copy of the 425 agreement. It's not 100 pages long, let me put it that way. It's pretty easily read.
Could I ask the city attorney to comment on whatever they might like to comment on in connection with these questions?
Sure. So I have reviewed the 425 agreement with respect to this rezoning, and it does permit for rezoning. It was just, as Mr. Meadows said, a holding pattern for when the agreement was initially put in place, and it did allow for change over time and, as the area developed, and, so that it should be consistent with development. So it does allow for that. If you would like a written legal opinion, we can do that too.
That's
but
fine.
It does permit rezoning.
Okay.
Any other questions on that point? So I did have a similar question concerning spot zoning and how that works under this slightly unusual situation. And in the typical sort of spot zoning perspective is that you don't want to have one zone in the midst of a different zone. And I guess the question is does the parcel that gets rezoned first in this area then drive all the adjacent zoning because of spot zoning concerns?
No, the council could. I guess I'd say we have a lot of examples in East Lansing of single properties that are zoned by themselves. And I'm not sure how that happened, but it happened. So I wouldn't say that zoning a single property of this size in this location would be inconsistent with our past practices. That said, you're definitely correct, is that that's not a good practice, and we should not be rezoning single properties if we can avoid that. As far as leading the zoning, I would say that the comprehensive plan should do the leading. And right now, the comprehensive plan's future land use map designates this property and all the properties around it as commercial that would be analogous to the B5 zone district. So what the applicant is proposing would be supported by the comprehensive plan. And I would say that the future land use map would and should lead the zoning of those properties more than anything else. And the applicant's request is in line with that.
Thank you. City Attorney, any comments on that point?
I agree with that.
Okay.
What is important to look at, and it would be the most important thing for if a court got involved, would be what does your master plan say? What does your future land use for that area say? So because you have it, future land use plan for that type of zoning, it wouldn't be considered spot zoning.
Got it. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, so the motion is to introduce and refer to the Planning Commission. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 5.2, consideration of traffic control order TCO 501 for the installation of stop signs at the intersection of Rosewood Avenue and South Lawn Avenue. Director Lacasse.
Ron Lacasse, Director of Public Works. I don't think this is All right. Good evening, Council. Ron Lacasse, Director of Public Works and Environmental Services. I see after reviewing this, the TCO is not included, and I think that staff assumed it wouldn't be because we're recommending against it. So if council decides to move forward with the TCO, we'd have to put that on the consent agenda for February 3rd. But we received a request from residents in the Glencairn neighborhood to improve the safety by replacing the yield signs at the intersection of Rosewood Avenue and South Lawn with stop signs. And the yield control is on South Lawn, and Rosewood currently is free flow. The Michigan Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices has a set of design standards that traffic control devices should conform to per the Michigan Vehicle Code, which is adopted by city ordinance. Engineers and municipalities see the Michigan Manual as a valuable tool, best practices by the fact that it provides uniformity across jurisdictions so the drivers know what to expect when it's followed. We use Fishbeck, our traffic engineering consultant, to perform the evaluation of the intersection. And in general, that stop sign evaluation consists of an engineering study to see if the stop sign is warranted. And that evaluation uses traffic conditions, pedestrian characteristics, and the physical characteristics of the intersection. In general, stop signs are not recommended for speed control, and studies have found unwarranted stop signs can cause safety concerns for pedestrians and cyclists, because if they're unwarranted, over time people get tired of stopping where there isn't conflicting traffic, and they tend to roll through them, and pedestrians and cyclists expect cars to stop at stop signs, so it can increase risk for pedestrians and cyclists in unwarranted locations. So utilizing the Michigan Manual of Traffic Control Devices, the engineering department concurs with the consultant that the stop signs in this case are not warranted. It didn't meet the traffic, the crash history, or geometrics of the intersection. At the Transportation Commission, the majority also recommended not installing the stop signs, but further motioned that other solutions, including education, enforcement, and other engineering solutions, be explored. We brought this to council on December 9th, and we're asked to bring it back to this meeting because I believe Councilmember Meadows wanted to have a conversation, had a conversation with Molly Spooner, wanted to have a follow-up with Molly to make sure he understood her concerns. We also reached out to Molly and had further discussions, met with her and the president of the neighborhood, Peter Dewan, and talked about overall concerns in the neighborhood. We are in the process of doing a full revamp of the neighborhood action plan to address neighborhood traffic. We've gotten a pretty clear direction from residents that they're not happy with the current plan, and it doesn't appear to ever lead to solutions. So it's not just we're not just tweaking it on the margins. We're having our traffic consultant review action plans across several communities. There's a lot of larger communities that have traffic engineering departments. So they have a lot more resources to put towards something like that, best practices type of thing. So they're reviewing across the board, bring recommendations to us, which we'll bring to the Transportation Commission, and then ultimately to City Council, with the hope of having a new plan to address these from a traffic calming standpoint once construction season hits. So that's our plan moving forward, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have a question.
Questions, Mr. Meadows?
I thought did I hear you say that if we decided we were going forward with Traffic Control Order 501, we would have to wait till February 3rd?
I didn't see it attached. I think they didn't attach.
It was probably attached back in December.
Probably, but I'd have to check.
I don't think we'd have to go to the 3rd. I guess I'd ask the city attorney, if we decided to approve Traffic Control Order 501, would we have to defer this matter again to February 3rd?
If it exists and you've seen it already, I don't think you would need to, as long as you've read it and you know what it says.
Okay.
Do we know that it was attached to the agenda at our last?
I can look right now.
That would be great.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Whalen?
So I know that you are officially suggesting we do not suggest putting a stop sign at the intersection. Maybe this is more of a statement than a question. Maybe I shouldn't make a statement yet.
I think you should say whatever you want.
Okay. I think sitting in these seats, we have our own opinions, we have legal opinions, and then we have constituency. It's wonderful when all three of those go together. Sometimes it doesn't. So I've got a video that was sent to me 4:09 p.m. on Sunday, 2 days ago. Somebody that was coming through the intersection kind of yielded too fast, came across the intersection, went off the road, and took out a tree. And that nice gentleman got out of his car, checked his bumper, and then took off without doing a thing about this poor man's tree. So that was kind of a 2 days ago thing that just happened, and it's a concern that that car was going far too fast. I think the weather had a little bit of an issue, even though the city does a great job keeping the streets clear. And this neighbor who was, in the last time we talked, he was pretty adamant about not having stop signs. Now that totally changed his mind, and he lives at the southeast corner of that intersection. And so I had a lengthy conversation with him. So even though I really, really value the studies and I value the data there, and also I've got personal opinions that stop signs don't always slow things down, because then you're a pedestrian, you're watching, you think everyone's going to stop and they don't, which I think is a concern. But yet we've got a neighborhood that seems like they're pretty concerned, and so at this point, so I think I'm communicating where I'm leaning, that maybe a stop sign would be a benefit there, considering some of the neighbors that live right there.
Other comments? Mr. Grigsby?
Yeah, one of the things I talked about in my campaign was having data-informed decisions. And I guess I'm going back on that a little bit because I've heard a lot about the traffic and issues and how important it is for residents' lived experience in there, and them thinking that this makes this a lot better for their living experience. And so, I'm leaning towards going against the recommendation because of that lived experience, the quality of life that some residents. I've heard quite a bit, so it wasn't just a one-off. It was very consistent. I'm in that neighborhood area as myself, and so I can appreciate some of the things that they're talking about there from my lived experience. So that's kind of where I'm leaning with that, just to give you guys a clue on there.
Thank you. Councilmember Singh.
Yeah, I have just a clarification, and I can't remember if I saw this via a constituent email or if I read this someplace else. But part of the recommendation in denying the stop signs is because of the strangeness of the intersection. That's a formal term, strangeness. That there may be other remedies needed to build out the intersection or do a circle, or the circle was going to be too costly.
And those are the traffic calming options that the action plan will have. And anybody who has driven the Chesterfield neighborhood, there's a lot of non-standard intersections in that neighborhood. And that's part of what, in some cases, an engineer's opinion, contributes to the higher speeds. You got big wide open intersections. In some cases, you have huge sweeping radiuses, that type of thing that doesn't cause you to slow down when you're turning in things. So it also makes sign placement for stop signs challenging, because with large radius, the sign has to be further back. So there's other challenges in there. But the action plan will address things like islands in the intersections, which Bailey has some. There's some speed humps. There's bump outs. There's lots of different options that you can use to slow traffic besides a stop sign, which is unwarranted.
And then what has been, recognizing this accident just happened recently, the tree getting taken out, the feedback from the community neighborhood is or am I referencing one person that is still here in her email, that she may be okay not moving forward with stop signs, recognizing there may be a better solution from a data standpoint in engineering speak?
We've had those conversations, and from our perspective, they seemed open to it, both Molly and the neighborhood president. Now, for a point of clarification, I just want everybody to understand that as engineers, we follow the code which directs us to perform these studies. And it isn't to disprove residents. It's not because we enjoy telling people no. That's our job as engineers, is to provide council with the technical analysis of the intersection, and they hear the resident side from the resident, same with the Transportation Commission. So it isn't like if we're disappointed if council decides to put stop signs here, we're just providing the data that we're supposed to provide by code. But with that, if we decide to put stop signs, that it doesn't negate us from looking at a traffic calming option down the road and replacing that with a circle or something else.
Yeah. So I'm curious if you have a point of view on, in the short-term solution, is it better to put some stop signs up until we explore a longer-term solution? Or is it best to do a study and then figure out maybe it's even a midterm solution?
Yeah, I mean, my position is I will always recommend against a non-warranted stop sign because we've heard from lots of different residents. I mean, I think Councilmember Whalen at the Marble neighborhood referenced some stop signs near his home that people don't stop at, and we've heard that, at Green Tree and Ramblewood, we've heard that in several different locations that pedestrians have almost been hit at stop signs that people roll through.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a pedestrian risk there, and especially for younger kids that would expect cars to stop and don't necessarily think they have to watch anyway. So I will always recommend against them. Now, how big that risk is, I can't say, but I'll always recommend against them. But obviously, it's council's prerogative to.
And just know, I pose that question because of the nature of the conversation this evening, but because I am pro setting the standards and the process, and so we're not throwing stop signs randomly across the community, that there is a system approach to, make our best conclusion for what the remedy should be. So, okay, thank you for clarifying, and so I knew what I was hearing from Molly's email versus what I've seen from your materials. Okay.
I have a couple of comments, pretty consistent with what we've sort of heard here already. So I'll start with a question, though. So suppose we put in a traffic circle at some point in that intersection, because there's lots of space potentially there. Would you have any concerns about removing a stop sign that we put in, given that we put it in, or is that a big enough change that you wouldn't have concerns about changing the signage around it?
I think that would be a big enough change that people would notice that, and I mean, there's always that concern with any change. It's why we add flags and things to new signs, that people won't notice the change. But I do think that would be something that would be noticeable.
So just to give my perspective on this, so I'm okay going beyond the warrants because we can factor in other evidence like people's lived experiences and their comments and even equity considerations. If there's lots of stop signs in one neighborhood that maybe aren't warranted, then if other people in other neighborhoods want those, then I think that's fair. At the same time, I need to have some evidence that people really want them, that because that's part of the evidence I'm going to consider. Do people in the neighborhood really want the stop signs? And we've heard some conversations and some feedback. I did call Peter DeWan today, the head of the Glencairn Neighborhood Association, to see whether this particular TCO was on his radar. And we had a discussion, and he mentioned in the context of that discussion that the Glencairn board meets tomorrow. And he's willing to he wants to put on the agenda to get their input on this. And I would prefer to have their input and a clear signal from the neighborhood association that they think this is reasonable, because it gives us some cover. I mean, I'm not sure how else to put it. I have acted on things that seemed self-evidently the right thing to do, and then it turns out that a lot of people didn't like it. And so the process component of actually figuring out some basis for, is this really wanted in this particular vicinity, I think is really important. How exactly we do that process is something that I think we're working out with the update to the traffic action plan, but having some more evidence of support from those at least in the vicinity or the neighborhood association, I think would be helpful. And in connection with that, Mark and I both checked the meeting where this first came up, and the TCO was not attached. So I can't with confidence say that I've read it. It exists, I'm sure it exists, but I haven't read it. So I guess what I would suggest is that we defer this to our February 3rd meeting and put it on the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, so that is apparently a motion that I made, which is to defer this to February 3rd, to postpone to February 3rd.
And if I want to just comment on it if I can.
So, motion by Altman, second by Meadows.
The, my inclination is to, put some stop signs in here and then do the studies to see whether there's a better way of dealing with traffic that goes through here. And I'll just second also the comments that were made by others. Really, I feel that the neighborhood knows what happens on the ground in the neighborhoods, and they recognize where they have a problem. It's not always the right answer, but I feel pretty confident that whatever neighborhood we're talking about, if they're saying we need a stop sign at such and such, I'm happy to put in the stop sign. I don't disagree necessarily with the studies that show that it might not have all the great effect that we would hope it would, but I do think that even people who kind of blow a stop sign don't blow it at full speed. They slow down and then they use it as a yield sign as they go through. So that still accomplishes a little bit of what we're trying to accomplish here. And then, so I'm inclined actually to approve this. I will note this, that's 2 meetings where we didn't have the TCO actually attached. And I would just suggest that we never have a discussion of a TCO again without the TCO being attached to the item on our agenda so that we know exactly what we're looking at. Okay. I know you describe it in your report, and I think that probably says everything that's in the in the traffic control order, but it would be better if we had the actual TCO attached to it.
Mr. Whalen.
Thank you. So I guess I was on the understanding that we had already heard from the neighborhood. So I think let's, I must be wrong on that. So let's, maybe in the future, let's make sure we've got maybe some kind of official, something from a neighborhood before we bring something to our discussion. I think that would just really be helpful. I think I really value those voices. And if the neighborhood doesn't want to meet to do that, then that can be part of the discussion. But I think before we bring another stop sign, and I know Southeast Marble is going to have a lot of stuff coming. Everybody really is concerned to make sure we've got something from the neighborhood association, that they've gathered something. I know we don't need a public hearing for it, but I think that could be in lieu of that, and that does mean a lot to me. And the Transportation Commission is an amazing group, and they really do wise things, so I really listen to them also. So maybe in the future, make sure we've heard from the neighborhoods. That's not a criticism, it's just a point of...
Yeah, I think, there's a sort of a larger...
And I am in support of...
The motion.
Deferring.
Postponing,
I'm sorry.
Postponing. Thank you, yeah. The sort of the larger conversation about how to get community buy-in, I think this is a really timely conversation right now because you guys are updating the plan. And that's why the petition requirement is in the current action plan, but maybe it could be made a little bit more lightweight. I think the idea of a public hearing is actually a pretty interesting one. You make sure that everybody within a couple of blocks of an intersection is noticed of a public hearing. I think there's lots of different options we could pursue. But for this particular case, I think a little bit more time to get a little bit more feedback would be good. And then I also just wanted to say that I appreciate the technical analysis. It's vital for us, but for us sitting here, we have additional discretion, and so this is the appropriate place to be making those decisions. Any further discussion on the motion to postpone?
And just so I'm clear, you're wanting approval on the consent agenda for the 3rd?
That would be part of my motion that I am making retroactively.
Okay, sorry.
If that's okay with everybody. Okay. Yep, that's the motion. Any further discussion? So I see a look of puzzlement on council members.
You're changing your motion to what?
So the motion is to have a motion for approval of the TCO be on the February 3rd consent agenda.
Can you say that differently?
Yes. So,
Instead of denying.
Right. So the context here is the recommendation is a motion to deny the TCO. And my motion is to put a motion for approval of the TCO on the consent agenda at our February 3rd meeting. Is that clear as mud?
May I ask why you're changing what is our current agenda item? What's the rationale?
The rationale is my sense that we are leaning toward approving
But you could make that motion,
the stop signs.
yeah, at the next, on the February 3rd meeting.
I could make that motion.
Recognizing what we know today, I'm just wondering why we're overturning the Transportation Commission motion on the agenda for the future meeting. I mean, you can make obviously whatever motion you want, but I'm just curious to the why.
So the why is based on my sense of the discussion here tonight. And at our February 3rd meeting, any council member who objected to the motion could pull it off consent. And then we would have to have a motion and a second and a discussion.
So not only are you going to place on the February 3rd, but you would put on a consent?
That was my motion.
Oh, I didn't, sorry.
Can I ask the city attorney if you have any concerns about my motion or the
I
discussion?
don't have a concern. You can vote on your motion as proposed.
Okay.
If I could just make a comment.
Yeah, Mr. Meadows.
Unless things have changed, the city attorney for a long time has recommended that we always state things in the positive, not in the negative. So that you don't make a motion to deny, you make a motion to approve and then vote against it, so that there is no confusion about what happened with the particular motion. This kind of fits into that, because it puts it in the positive. Even if we were to vote against the motion, there's no question that there's anything hanging out there, or that someone can argue by voting to deny, we really were voting to approve, which is one of the things we were trying to avoid in the past anyway, as to how motions are made. So.
But I feel like, Mr. Jovic, we've made this shift recently for a reason. And while the motion is proper and there's no legal issues with the motion as presented tonight, I think that's different than what we've been advised in terms of how the motions have been phrased in our packet agendas. So I think there's now two different topics that we can talk about.
In this case, there was a previous item, and I can't think of what it was, but we're asking you to approve the recommendation of the Transportation Commission, which is to deny, which is what we were instructed to do, is recommend per the Transportation Commission. Now, which is what we've done here. So it is an affirmative. Now, you can obviously change that for the next meeting, because we've done this one. But that's why we worded it the way we did, is it's approving a recommendation from the Transportation Commission to deny, which is what we have in front of you now.
And that seems proper. I mean,
And that was what we were instructed to do last time.
Yep, and that seems proper. And so let me restate my motion just so that it's painfully clear at this point. So my motion is to place a recommendation to approve Traffic Control Order 501 on the consent agenda at our February 3rd business meeting. That is my motion. I believe that was the motion that was
That
seconded.
was the motion I seconded.
Any further discussion of that motion?
I'm going to vote against this motion because it's overturning the recommendation from the Transportation Commission, as well as neighborhood feedback seems inconsistent with that motion.
Mr. Grigsby, did you have a?
I want to make sure I'm clear with what we're doing. And I know you explained it a couple times, and I apologize, but I just want to make sure. So what we're looking at today is going to be deferred to February 3rd, but on February 3rd is going to approve, not deny, with the transportation.
it's going to approve the traffic control order, which would effectively go against the recommendation of the Transportation Commission as well as our engineering staff.
And you're going against that?
Tonight, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion of this particular motion?
Double negatives are always hard.
They are.
So we are postponing, we are postponing the exact item that's on the agenda tonight. So it'll be read just like this on February 3rd. I don't think that's true, but I just need to make sure.
Yep. So the motion is to place a recommendation to approve Traffic Control Order 501 on the consent agenda.
And approving it, approving it places a stop sign there.
Correct.
Okay,
Which was not the Transportation Commission's recommendation.
right, it's going against, but we're approving what we're doing, so it's, at least it's coming at a positive. Like, this is what we're approving and put in a stop sign. Even though we understand it's going against what the Transportation Commission, who I liaison with, who I really, really appreciate all their work on. So that makes more sense to me now. So actually, because I think it eliminates the double negative.
And they still can go forward. I mean, we're not, by making this decision doesn't stop them from doing what they do best and do what's best for the data that they have informed decisions for. This is just, from my understanding, this is to again, give and address what the community has come to me about their concerns and doing something now about it, and something later will be done hopefully better.
That
It'll be
is,
on the consent agenda unless someone pulls it off at the February 3rd agenda.
I'm clear.
yep. And just to amplify that point, my view is that the Transportation Commission, other commissions which are advisory to the council, have a certain purview, staff has a certain purview. We tend to have more discretion, and I view that as an opportunity to factor in other sources of evidence, like people's experience and their desires and equity concerns. Those don't fit into the formulas that are part of the technical analysis, but I think they're fair game for us to consider. Are we on board with the motion? Everybody understands what the motion is? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Whalen?
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows?
Yes.
Councilmember Singh?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Grigsby?
Yes.
Mayor Altman?
Yes. Which brings us to item 6, which is...
Clarify, what time is the Glen Karen meeting tomorrow?
My understanding is that the meeting was tomorrow. I don't know when. But the chair is there somebody in the room who happens to know? 7 o'clock at Hannah. For anybody, any random person who might, okay, all right. So the Glen Karen Neighborhood Association meeting is tomorrow at 7 p.m., I'm thinking, not a.m., here in this building. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Meadows.
Second.
Second by Grigsby. He won the race. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.